soon as we're loaded in here.
Okay, so in the top left we have Jibs, who was formerly the undisputed best player of the war game. And then we have Kerias, somewhat veteran, but he has been displaying good results in recent tournaments.
Yeah. He's not seen quite so much around. You won't be able to find so many of his games on YouTube, but the few times he does plays, he brings his A game, and he did actually knock Jibs down into losers in the August tournament, I believe. So, not to be underestimated at all.
Yeah, in that match versus Jibs, everybody considered that to be an upset, but following that, we've seen Jibs losing to players such as Icy in the losers bracket. So Jib's form right now is kind of questionable, in my opinion.
Yeah. He's by no means a bad player, guys. He will just completely body you if he meets you on ladder, but amongst the very tippity top, which is what we've tried to bring along for you today, his position among them is a little bit more sketchy than maybe it used to be. But we still expect him to place pretty high today, at least in the top 4, I reckon.
Alright, so the openings that we see from Jibs and Kerias are Jibs is going 6 castle, and Kerias may be going for 1 den expo. In this matchup, if both players opt to go for dragons, there isn't a complete disadvantage for the 1 den expo, but the Den Expo player needs to play more defensively than the person who is rushing 6 Army Fort.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. And we're going to see just a little bit of harassment there, just slow down Kerias' den. But the big thing here is with these wolves out, Kerias is going to be able to do a lot of scouting, and that's going to allow him just the freedom to maybe throw down that double base or maybe the double forge and take a little bit more greed than perhaps Jibs can, stuck behind this 6 expand.
But the thing is, Jib's castle placement is directly above the gold mine, which he may be vulnerable to run-bys if Kerias decides to take down the workshop. But we see here that Kerias is playing more standard and less aggressive.
And Jibs,
I'm kind of surprised he's not going for his 2 den, which is his signature build in ladder and also in previous tournaments.
Yeah, although it is a little bit harder to make that work on King Sejong. Obviously, there's a wide choke, but with the placement of the castle, in fact, let's show you Jibs' one. You can see it's quite easy to just make that very narrow very quickly. And you can see this tower's actually going to go up, and a 2 den aggression, maybe not the best choice on this map, but that's fine. The 1 den expand will catch his economy up not too far behind. In fact, we bring up the workers, he's only 2 workers behind at the moment.
Jibs isn't going for the fort, so he's going to decide to go Rax play instead. Kerias may be dragons, but we're still not sure until he decides to build a Rax or upgrade to a fort.
Yeah. And he did build the first worker, so it's probably going to be indicative that he will be going into a little bit more barracks units or possibly a quick 3rd, because obviously you do want to just grab that fort ASAP if you're going to go for it.
If you're opting to go for dragons and you see the other player just build a tower and turtle up, there's no reason to rush dragons anyway.
Yeah.
In your position, you can just quickly make more wolves and just take the 3rd.
Yeah, and
there's no reason to harass.
The tower's going to deny some of that harassment anyway, and with a 2 base economy, the window of opportunity for getting that harassment is a little bit more difficult, but Kerias is going to go for it. He's throwing down the fort anyway. I'm not sure about this. Do you think this might do something?
Possibly, if Jibs doesn't defend his main. which doesn't have any tower, then it might be just game. But Kerias just decided to go more aggressive instead of just taking the third and getting more ahead with upgrades. Kerias right now has a full scout in Jibs' base, so he knows exactly what he's doing. He sees that he's not getting any upgrades, and if he scouts his natural soon, he's seeing 2 racks.
Yep, and Kerias actually going for a build we've seen a little bit more of recently, which is to grab this very early testing lab. So even with Rifleman out, it's going to be pretty darn hard to kill these dragons. But 2 racks should be okay. In fact, there's a third one.
Yep, and Kerias decides to expand. Questionable, but he won't have enough money to get those 2 dragon layers up if he decides to go for it.
Maybe he's just trying to play a little bit safe with the fort, because obviously the fort's going to deny a whole ton of the counterattacks. And so I'd be surprised if he's going into dragons now. Grabbing that third base uses up so much of your gold. So
yes.
It's probably just a safety maneuver. But the thing is, he hasn't...
Not the optimal play, but he
No.
should have gotten third first instead of the fort.
The thing is, he just doesn't...
Because right now, Jibs can easily defend with rifles.
Yeah.
1 dragon's lair isn't going to do much against the rifles in Jibs' base.
No. Although there are a few soldiers mixed into this.
Yeah, but the thing is, Kerias needs to also scout the third, just in case Jibs decides to get his third up. Because as a dragon player, you need to stay ahead all the time in bases, or else you might just lose whenever the Rax player gets max supply.
Yeah. Barracks units, obviously, those of you, again, who are perhaps a little bit newer to the game, barracks units are a lot more efficient, but they're a lot less mobile. So you can defend with them, and if you have equal bases, you're considered ahead, essentially, in terms of being able to have a good army. But it's a lot harder to defend your bases, simply because you're so slow. And there we go. Kerias just checking that third.
Just took a peek in the third, so he knows that there is no third for Jibs. And Jibs deciding to move out. Kind of questionable here if he can get surrounded by wolves. But there's only 5 wolves out on the map, so it's not too dangerous.
I would have liked to see a few more riflemen in this pack, simply because like a Dragon's Rush can hit at about 615, 630. So he doesn't quite have enough riflemen if that was what was happening. In this case, actually, he should be in a pretty decent position just to try and deny this third base.
The problem I have with this attack is he's attacking blindly into the fog of war.
Yeah.
He doesn't know if dragons are up, he doesn't know if any dens are up. As the Rax player, you need to wait for the other player to do something, and then you react accordingly by sending units out or taking more bases, but he took a risk and it might work out for him.
Yeah, he still doesn't know about the third base behind this, though. So at the moment, he's just trying to get his push into the natural, but he really should actually just check for this third, because there's a lot of workers here you could pick up practically for free.
It could be huge if he manages to take out the den. That's 1 less production facility for Kerias. Wolves are his main problem right now because they can easily surround his riflemen, and there's only 4 soldiers to defend them.
But Kerias' wolves actually right now, they're out on the map. They're trying to pick up the reinforcements of Jibs, but they're not having a good time of it. +1 for Jibs actually just kicking in as this attack hits. And you can see Jibs adapting. There's basically no dragons out on the map at the moment, so it's just pretty much pure soldier following this up.
Kerias' macro might be slipping up in this game, but hopefully he can make it up with his harassment and micro when he does get his dragons up.
Both players actually floating a surprising amount of gold, just trying to micro throughout all of this. And it's going to be a pretty important factor. You do have to keep that gold as low as you possibly can. Just have enough stuff on the map to fight your opponent. But I think
both players slipping up here with their macro and focusing on the fight.
Yeah.
Though Jibs' army is way in the lead right now. Though he only has 5 riflemen, that's totally enough to fight against one Dragon's Lair.
And I think Kerias may have just been absolutely bodied here in the first round. He was clearly not expecting this push out from Jibs. He thought maybe he could macro and tech up with Jibs playing a little bit more defensively. But actually Jibs is even grabbing a third behind this, and I think this push is just going to outright kill him.
Possibly, if Kerias manages to get the rifleman. Nope, never mind. Yeah, in one scenario, if Kerias manages to get all the riflemen with his workers, then maybe he can defend this, but we see that it's too late, all of his workers are dying, and GG should be called soon.
Yeah, he's falling down to less than half the workers of his opponent. The supply is nearly triple. Kerias says GG, and Jibs is going to take round 1 off his opponent.